Welcome to the castle, everyone. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is Character Vault, a series where I go through the entire process of creating a character from start to finish in various RPG systems. And today, we're going to be taking a look at the long-awaited Tales of the Valiant. This is Kobold Press's answer to Dungeons & Dragons, and so we're actually going to create a character using this system. Now, this is the special edition cover that I have here, so your book might look a little bit different if you have a physical copy. So let's pop this bad boy open to the character creation chapter, which starts on page 11. Now, this chapter is going to go through the entire process of how to create a character and then also how to level them up. So if you've played Dungeons & Dragons or any fantasy 5e type game, then the process is going to be very similar. There's just a couple of updates that Tales of the Valiant has made overall to the system that I think Dungeons & Dragons is going to implement in their 2024 core rulebook. You're still going to have things like creating the character concept. You're going to choose a class. You're going to determine your ability scores. You're going to choose a lineage, which if you're thinking back to the old process, that's going to be like your race. You're going to choose a heritage, which kind of goes along with your race as well, if you're thinking in old school terms. But your heritage is going to be a little bit different, that it represents your character's upbringing and their cultural traits and things like that. Then you're going to choose a background. You'll take your starting equipment, and then you're going to fill in the blanks, which is just pretty much a step for everything else that isn't any of those. So things like spell casting, HP, all of those things will kind of go into this. And I do like that they give a little bit of a checklist here. So when you're done with your character, you can just go through the checklist and see if you missed anything. That's actually a really cool inclusion. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about our character concept. And this really isn't something that I do a whole lot of when I create a character, but just to kind of simplify things, my character concept is a druid. And that's pretty much about as far as I got. And the only reason why I chose it was because I haven't created a druid character yet. But then I remembered that I actually did that in Fabula Ultima. So we're just going to stick with druid for now. Next, we get to determine our class. Now, just like with Dungeons & Dragons, we've got about the same number of classes, and that is 13. So we have the Barbarian, the Bard, the Cleric, the Druid, the Fighter. The Mechanist is basically the Artificer. We have the Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and the Wizard. Since we're going to be creating a Druid character, our class is going to definitely be a Druid. So we do get a couple of things whenever we choose a class. We're going to get our hit points. So we'll have the hit dice, which will either be D6, D8, or D10, or even a D12. We have our hit points at first level, and then we have hit points at the higher levels. We have some proficiencies, usually with armor, weapons, and some sort of a tool, but we also get 2 save proficiencies. For the Druid, it's going to be intelligence and wisdom. And then we get some skills. For Druid, we get to choose 2 from animal handling, arcana, insight, medicine, nature, perception, religion, and survival. For now, I'm actually going to take nature and survival. Standard choices for Druids, I would think. And then we get some starting equipment as well. So we can either choose a shield or any simple weapon. We can choose a scimitar or any simple melee weapon. And then we get leather armor, an explorer's pack, and a druidic focus. We also get access to spellcasting as a druid, so the rules for that are listed here, what kind of spells you're using and where to find them, as well as what your spell save DC is going to be and what your spell attack modifier is going to be. It tells you how many spells you're going to get and how many rituals you get at first level as well. But if you really need to know anything, there is a nice table for the progression of the druid class. As we continue forward, we do get a couple of extra things as well. We have access to Druidic, which is the secret language of Druids, and we also get Nature's Gift. So we've learned to harness the ambient energy of nature and can redirect that energy to encourage growth and healing. As a bonus action, choose 1 creature within 5 feet of you. This can actually be us, by the way. And when you do, roll a number of d4s equal to your proficiency bonus, which for now is going to be at +2. That creature regains hit points equal to the total rolled. This feature has no effect on constructors or undead. And you can use this feature a number of times per day equal to your proficiency bonus. You recover expended uses when you complete a long rest. So really, it seems like they're turning the druid into another type of a healer, which I'm all for. It's actually really cool. As we get on in levels, we do get other features such as wild shape, which is going to be really cool, but that's going to be outside the scope for this video for now. Next, we need to determine what our ability scores are going to be. Just like with a lot of other fantasy RPGs, we have access to 6 abilities. We have strength, which represents your physical might, dexterity, which represents your agility and reaction time, constitution, which represents your endurance and physical fortitude, intelligence, which represents your ability to acquire and apply knowledge, wisdom, which represents your intuition and mental fortitude, and charisma, which represents your self-confidence and your ability to influence others. So in order to calculate what your ability scores are going to be, we need to actually choose a method of doing so. The first method, and probably the most fun, is rolling for it. So when you roll for your ability scores, you're going to take 46s and you're going to roll them all, and then you're going to get rid of the lowest die, add the 3 dice that you have remaining, and that's going to be your score. And you do that 6 times, 1 for each of the scores, and then you just apply the number to the ability score that you want. Now, if you really want to go old school, you start from the very top with strength, do that process, and just continue on until you get to the very end. And then you're going to basically hope that you got what you wanted. That's the old school method of doing it. Very much different than, your heroic fantasies of the modern day. Method number 2 is the point buy system. So if you don't want to leave it up to chance, you can assign ability scores with the point buy system. So you're going to start with 32 points to spend on your ability scores, and each score costs a certain number of points. For example, 9 is going to cost 1 point, 10 is going to cost 2 points. And if we go all the way up to 18, that's going to cost us 16 points, so half of our points right there. So effectively, it's like saying that all of our ability scores are going to start at 8 unless we change that. So theoretically, you could have like 2 18s and then everything else at 8, but you're kind of limiting yourself right there. And then we have the last method, which is the method that we're going to choose, and that's the standard array. We're going to start with 6 numbers: 16, 14, 14, 13, 10, and 8. And we're going to assign them as ability scores however we want. That's the simplest way of doing it, and so that's the way we're going to do it for this video. So I'm going to give my strength a 10, dexterity an 8, constitution the 14, wisdom the 16, since wisdom is my spellcasting ability for druid. Intelligence is going to be 14, and then charisma will be 13. Next, we get to choose our lineage. Lineage represents the blood ties and hereditary traits of a creature. It's what you're born to, no matter where you were born. Lineage options include beastkin, dwarf, elf, human, kobold, orc, Siderian, and small folk. We get things like age and size, speed, and traits for our lineage. I'm actually going to choose the typical elf for my druid character. So elves can live up to like 750 years. So I've put my age at about 340. Our size is going to be medium, which is kind of standard. Our base walking speed is 30 feet. We have heightened senses, so we have advantage on perception checks that rely on sight or hearing. You can see through lightly obscured areas normally and areas of dim light as if it were bright light. And we also have magic ancestry, so you have advantage on saves against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep because we actually don't sleep. Instead, we have a trance. Elves don't need to sleep. Instead, they enter a meditative trance state, remaining semi-conscious for 4 hours a day. You choose whether or not you can dream while meditating. After resting in this way, you gain the same benefits that other creatures do from 8 hours of sleep, which can be very handy in certain situations. Next, we get to choose our heritage. Heritage represents the upbringing and culture of a character. It's what your family, community, or other formative authority figures taught you. Sample heritages include cosmopolitan, city dweller, grove, forest denizens, and stone under mountain folk. Heroic characters sometimes come from unexpected origins. Your character might have been raised among a typical community of their lineage or from a totally different life. A heritage is going to give us things like languages, a proficiency, and some sort of a ability that we can use. So we're going to have things like the anointed heritage, cloud heritage, cosmopolitan heritage, cottage heritage, diaspora heritage, fireforge heritage, grove heritage, nomadic heritage, salvager heritage, slayer heritage, stone heritage, supplicant heritage, vexed heritage, and wildlands heritage. Going along with the theme of being a druid, I am going to choose the grove heritage. So grove heritage characters grow in the values and traditions of forest communities dedicated to living in harmony with nature. We get access to Canopy Walker, so we have a climbing speed equal to our walking speed, which is 30 feet. We also have Nature's Camouflage, so we have advantage on dex stealth checks made while we are lightly obscured by foliage, heavy rain, falling snow, mist, and other natural phenomena. While in such conditions, you can always attempt to take the hide action, even if circumstances would not normally allow you to do so. And then for languages, we know Common and one additional language of our choice. Typical Grove Heritage characters choose Elvish, and that's actually going to be the one that I'm taking because it would kind of be really silly to be an elf and not speak Elvish. And finally, we have backgrounds and talents. Backgrounds help define your character's personal history before becoming an adventurer. When choosing a background, consider how it plays into your character's heritage and class. Did life as a soldier pave the way for you to become a fighter? Did a religious experience pull you away from a community that holds a different faith? Your background can provide some missing detail and give you access to additional proficiencies, talents, equipment, or languages. You can actually customize a background if you so wish. So you're going to get a talent, some skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, or languages. The backgrounds that we can choose are adherent, artist, courtier, criminal, homesteader, maker, outcast, rustic, scholar, and soldier. I want my character to be a little bit of an oddball when it comes to being a druid. And so we're actually going to take the adherent background. So before we began adventuring, we committed ourselves to a faith, belief, or cause. The exacting tasks required of this commitment, daily prayers, holy rites, or cryptic ceremonies, instilled in you a sense of duty and purpose. And the reason why I'm taking this is because I want my druid character to want to spread the teachings of Pan. Yes, I was actually watching Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and I specifically was at the part where Grover gets his Finding Pan license, and so that's kind of where this inspiration came from. So we're going to get some skill proficiencies. We can choose 2 from History, Investigation, Religion, or Persuasion. I'm going to choose Investigation and Persuasion. We get additional proficiencies. So we gain proficiency with Artist Tools and an additional tool of our choice. For equipment, we get access to a prayer book or ceremonial dagger. I'm going to choose the ceremonial dagger, a holy symbol, a block of fragrant incense, vestments, a set of common clothes, and a pouch containing 10 gold pieces. We do get to choose from one of 3 talents. The talents include Field Medic, Mental Fortitude, or Ritualist. Mental Fortitude says, through rigid mental exercise, you have fortified yourselves against mind-altering effects. You gain these benefits. Once per short rest, when you fail in Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma save, you can choose to re-roll the save and take the new result. When you start your turn charmed, frightened, paralyzed, or stunned, you gain 1 luck. Kind of not really good for an elf, especially that last one, but hey, we're going to pass on that one. For Ritualist, we get to choose a spell source, either Arcane, Divine, Primordial, or Weird, and we can choose your ritual from that source's spell list. Regardless of which source you choose, you use your normal spellcasting ability for these spells. When you gain your ritual book, add 1 ritual for each spell circle you have already unlocked via your spellcasting class. This could be a really good way of tapping into other classes' rituals, if that makes any sense. Last, we're going to pass on that as well. And then we have Field Medic. You train to provide emergency medical assistance. When you select this talent, you gain these benefits. When you make a Wisdom Medicine check, treat any d20 roll of 9 or lower as though you rolled a 10. As an action, you can tend to the wounds of a creature you can see and touch. When you do, the creature regains a number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus plus their con modifier. A creature healed in this way can't receive the benefits of this feature again until it finishes a short or long rest. And when you spend hit dice to regain hit points during a short rest, you can reroll a number of dice equal to your proficiency bonus and must take the new results. I actually really like this one for a number of reasons. It adds a little bit more healing power to a party, in a way. Since I don't have Wisdom Medicine as a skill proficiency, because I just didn't take it, this would actually be very good as a pseudo healer. So I can treat anything that's lower than a 10 as a 10, effectively always getting a success to heal my allies. So we are going to take the Field Medic. Last is our Adventuring Motivation. We could choose from the list here or roll for it randomly. I kind of went out of my way to go ahead and make my own though. So as I said before, we're going to go out and spread the word of Pan. We're going to protect nature and all of that. Next is our starting equipment. In addition to the equipment granted by our background, we do have some options from our class. So as I said before, we have either a shield or any simple weapon. I'm going to choose the shield in this instance because it's going to give us a +2 bonus to our AC. There's only one type of a shield in this rule book though, so it only gives a +2. We can either choose a scimitar or any simple melee weapon. I'm going to take any simple melee weapon, and that's going to be the club, for reasons that will be made very much apparent when we get to spell casting. We also have access to the leather armor, an explorer's pack, and a druidic focus. The leather armor is going to be base AC of 11 plus our dexterity. Unfortunately, our dexterity gives us a -1, so effectively the armor is going to be at a base AC of 10, 12 with our shield, which is rather unfortunate. Last but not least is to fill in the blanks. So we have hit points at first level, which is going to be 8 plus our con, which should be a +2. So our starting hit points are going to be 10. We also have spell casting. Our spell save DC is going to be 8 plus our proficiency bonus, which is +2, plus our wisdom modifier, which is +3. So our spell save DC is going to equal 13. Our spell attack modifier is going to be our proficiency bonus, which is +2, plus our wisdom modifier, which is +3. So overall, our spell attack modifier is going to be +5. We get access to 3 cantrips from the primordial spell list. So the cantrips that we can take from the primordial spell list include Dancing Light, Druidcraft, Poison Spray, Produce Flame, Resistance, Shillelagh, and Shocking Grasp. For our 3 cantrips, I'm going to choose Shillelagh, of course, Druidcraft, and Produce Flame. For Druidcraft, we can create a tiny harmless sensory effect that predicts what the weather will be at our location for the next 24 hours. The effect might manifest as a golden orb for clear skies, a cloud for rain, falling snowflakes for snow, and so on. This effect persists for 1 round. We can instantly make a flower blossom, a seed pod open, or a leaf bud bloom. We can create an instantaneous harmless sensory effect such as falling leaves, a puff of wind, the sound of a small animal, or the faint odor of skunk. The effect must fit in a 5-foot cube. Or we can instantly light or snuff out a candle, torch, or small campfire. We're probably not going to do that last one, as we'll see a little bit later with our other spells. Next we have Produce Flame. A flickering flame appears in your hand. It remains for the duration and harms neither you nor your equipment. The flame sheds bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light for an additional 10 feet. The spell ends if you dismiss it as an action or if you cast it again. You can also attack with the flame, although doing so ends the spell. When you cast the spell, or as an action on a later turn, you can hurl the flame at a creature within 30 feet of you. Make a ranged spell attack. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 fire damage. The spell's damage increases by 1d8 when you reach 5th level, 11th level, and 17th level. And then we've got Shillelagh. The wood of a club or a quarterstaff you are holding is imbued with nature's power. For the duration, you can use your spellcasting ability instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls of melee attacks using that weapon, and the weapon's damage die becomes a d8. The weapon also becomes magical if it isn't already. As part of the same action used to cast this spell, you can make a single melee attack with the Shillelagh, provided a creature is within the weapon's range. The spell ends if you cast it again, or if you let go of the weapon. So this effectively turns our wimpy club into a magical powerhouse. That's if we ever really get in there close. In terms of first level spells, or spells in general, you can choose a number of spells equal to your wisdom modifier, which is +3, plus our druid level, which is 1, so we get to choose 4. So our options for the first level spells, or first circle spells, as they call it here, include Animal Friendship, Burning Hands, Create or Destroy Water, Cure Wounds, Entangle, Expeditious Retreat, Featherfall, Fire Under the Tongue, Fog Cloud, Goodberry, Longstrider, Speak with Animals, and Thunderwave. If Baldur's Gate 3 has really taught me anything, it's the power of being able to speak with any and all animals. So we're definitely going to take Speak with Animals. We're also going to take Cure Wounds, since we are a bit of a healer in this instance, and we're also going to take Entangle, just to kind of be the support of the group. We're also going to take Fire Under the Tongue, because Smokey the Bear would definitely approve. In fact, here's what Fire Under the Tongue says. You can ingest a non-magical fire up to the size of a small campfire within range. The fire is stored harmlessly in your mouth and dissipates without effect if it isn't expelled before the spell ends. Once ingested, you can spit out the stored fire as an action. If you try to hit a particular target with the flames, treat this as a ranged spell attack with a range of 10 feet. Small campfire-sized flames deal 2d6 fire damage, while tiny torch-sized flames deal 1d6 fire damage. Once you have spit out the flames, the fire goes out immediately unless it hits flammable material that can keep it fed. So not only do we get to use flames as an attack, every time we make a campfire, we can just kind of eat that up and store it again. We also get access to one ritual from the Primordial Ritual list. We only have 2 first circle rituals in this list, and they are Detect Poison and Disease and Purify Food and Water. We're actually going to take Detect Poison and Disease. And that's really all there is to creating a character in Tales of the Valiant. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final character sheet. Our character sheet comes with 3 pages, one for all of your stats, one for spells, and then one for your background, which we're not going to use because I never use that. So we have Aerith Loreleth, a first level druid. She's an elf with the Grove heritage and the adherent background. Her stats are as follow: Strength of 10, Dexterity of 8, Constitution of 14, Intelligence of 14, Wisdom of 16, and Charisma of 13. We have save proficiency with Intelligence and Wisdom. Our proficiency bonus is at +2. Our initiative is -1. Our speed is 30 feet, and our climb speed is 30 feet. I like how we actually have boxes for different speeds, because you might actually have like a swimming speed or a flying speed and things like that. So I really like that they made some room for that. I forgot to calculate my passive skills, but for each of these, it's just going to be 10 plus your ability modifier. So my passive insight will be, 10 plus 3, so 13. Passive investigation will be 14, and then passive perception is going to be 13. For my hit points, our maximum is going to be 10, and our hit dice is a d8. For skills, I am proficient with investigation, nature, persuasion, and survival. I've also marked the skills that I have some sort of an ability tied to, such as medicine, perception, and stealth. Those are going to come from my traits and talents and things like that. In terms of attacks, I do have a club which gives me a +0 bonus ordinarily, but if I use Shillelagh, it becomes a +5 bonus and it becomes a magic bludgeoning weapon with the damage of d8, which is pretty much what I'm going to do most of the time when I'm not in the back lines doing spellcasting stuff. In terms of armor, I do have leather armor, but once again, it's going to be 11 base AC -1 from the dexterity, which turns it into a 10. So with the shield, it's going to be 12. For languages, we have Druidic, Common, and Elvish. For proficiencies, we have light and medium armor, shields, simple weapons, and herbalist tools. And then our talent is field medic. For our features and traits, we have nature's gift, heightened senses, magic ancestry, trance, canopy walker, and nature's camouflage. We do have a ceremonial dagger, holy symbol, common clothes, a druidic focus, and an explorer's pack as equipment. And we also have 10 gold pieces. Because we are a druid, we do have access to spellcasting. Our ability is Wisdom, which is at a +3 right now. Our save DC is 13, and our spell attack bonus is +5. For our cantrips, I have Druidcraft, Produce Flames, and Shillelagh. And for our first level spells, I have Speak with Animals, Cure Wounds, Entangle, Fire Under the Tongue, and for the ritual, I have Detect Poison and Disease. I forgot to mention this before, but the number of spells you can cast is actually in the table for that class. So for Druid, I believe I can cast 2 spells per day or something like that. So not a whole lot for now, but it does go up as we level up in Druid. And that's really all there is for creating a character for Tales of the Valiant. So feel free to leave a comment down below, give this video a huge thumbs up to support this series, and subscribe if you would like to see more. I will see you guys in the next video.